through.
Despite of this extensive efforts from the Canadian government and its Prime Minister Mark Carney, there was a lot of riots. There was a lot of demonstrations which has some features of violence and destroying stores, and actually the most painful thing that I saw in these demonstrations is burning our Canadian flag. How do you describe this and comment about this violence?
Well, certainly I despair to see the Canadian flag or Canada as a country disrespected in such a blatant way. However, and I'll put my lawyer hat on now, there's no law against desecrating a Canadian flag. So this is a form of expression that's protected under our charter. So this is always a balancing of rights, I find, when I get into this discussion with folks, particularly about protests. Now, when things turn violent, that's different. That means laws are being broken and public safety is at risk. But for peaceful assembly and protest, and yes, even forms of expression which we may find reprehensible, such as the burning of a flag, those are protected under the charter, under the freedom of expression provision. So we have to balance the ability of Canadians to exercise their charter rights against public safety. So until protests cross that line, they will be permitted, if they're progressing safely, they'll be permitted to continue. I will mention recent legislation that our Minister of Justice tabled, Bill C9, which is the hate crime bill, basically, it's been referred to, does address some forms of protest that intimidate or block folks from accessing places of worship. So this was a concern that we were seeing a lot in certain communities, that people were trying to access their places of worship and they were being blocked by protests. So again, protests weren't necessarily violent in those contexts, but they were infringing on the other charter right of freedom of mobility and freedom to practice religion. So there was a balancing of charter rights there that we have to delicately address, and this legislation seeks to address that particular concern that arose out of many protests that were happening.